Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure that more people will join us, but we can start now. Okay, my name is Marta Fernández de Alarcón. I am the Secretary General of the Spanish Business Council, and I want to welcome you to this webinar about asset protection, inheritance law, and will drafting in the UAE with the Schluter Graf, led by Julian Steimer, Associate at Schlüter Graf. Thank you so much for being with us today. Before we get started, just a few words about today's topic. Understanding inheritance law and asset protection is particularly important of individuals and families with assets in the UAE, especially when cross-border elements are involved. So in this session, we'll focus on the practical aspects of inheritance planning, including with drafting available options under the UAE legal framework, and how to ensure that succession plans are enforceable and aligned with personal and family objectives. So the goal is to help you understand how succession planning can be properly structured so that it is legally sound and aligned with your personal and family objectives. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to express our gratitude to Schluter Graf, an active member of the Spanish Business Council. Thank you for your support and collaboration. At the end of the webinar, we will explore our Q&A where you can ask whatever you need to know or clarify. And I would like to remind you that this webinar will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel a few days after the session once the full webinar video has been edited. And those of you who have registered will receive an email with a link of the video of the webinar and the presentation that will be shared today, as well as the speaker's contact details. So thank you so much. I give the floor to Julian. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marta, for the kind introduction and also the invitation to the Spanish Business Council and the webinar today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, also from my side. My name is Julian Steimer. I'm associate with Schlüter Graf Legal Consultants, and I am advising clients mainly in international law issues, contract law, and also private client matters, succession planning, asset protection, and so on. We see that in the last months or last years, this is a topic a lot of people are thinking about. Not only companies are coming here to UAE, but more and more also private persons shifting from especially European countries to the UAE to protect their assets for like several reasons, tax reasons, and so on. So I'm happy to share today with you a few thoughts about focused asset protection and especially inheritance law and will drafting in the UAE. Let me jump quickly into the agenda. Today we talk about a little bit of introduction. What is asset protection exactly? What are we meaning when we are talking about asset protection? Then legal framework. What are the legal regulations in the UAE for inheritance law and asset protection? Options for will registrations, also very important. What options do you have? Types of wills. How do you draft the will exactly? What options do you have there? Very important, guardianship clauses when you have minor children. Yeah, that's a very important topic. We can discuss a few points. Then also the registration process. So you decided you will register a will. How can you do it? Yeah. And then, of course, the most important part is the execution in the event of death. Yeah, because everybody can register a will, but it is crucial that this will then also can be executed in the event of death. And I know a lot of you have experience also in the UAE with governmental affairs and governmental proceedings. And I think a lot of you know this can be difficult sometimes. So this is very, very important to have this look to the execution in the event of death. Then last point, tax. I will say a few sentences about tax, but please, this is a very important point. You have to also speak to your tax advisor. But I will say some general points and sentences to this. And in the end, we can have a Q&A, so you can ask questions if there are any questions. I will also share my email in the end, so you can ask questions also via email, or I'll forward it to my colleagues. So everything is possible. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. A short introduction of our law firm, Schlüter Graf. We are internationally active law firm with currently more than 30 lawyers, notaries, and legal consultants. Founded in Dortmund, Germany, 1946, so after the Second World War, with a branch office in Dubai, UAE since 1996. So since 30 years, we are here active in the UAE. And we advising clients and cross-border legal advice throughout the Middle East from our offices in Dortmund and Hamburg, Germany, Dubai, since last year also Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Since last year also in Madrid, our colleague Albert Hoche is there managing all the issues in Spain, or with connection to Spain. We have an office in Cairo, and we also have cooperation partners in all the other Middle Eastern countries. Yeah. Okay, so let me start. Asset protection. What is important when it comes to asset protection? Of course, you're thinking about your asset, bank accounts, cars, properties, and so on. But I think there are two important questions you have to ask yourself. The first question is, for what are you doing this? Yeah, a lot of people are coming to the UAE and they are buying properties, they are buying cars, they have bank accounts, and so on. They're investing in companies. But for a long-term asset protection, it's also important for what are you doing it. Yeah, long-term asset protection also means that maybe your children or your good friends or also your parents are participating in these assets in the event of death. So you're not doing it all only for you, but also for your parents, for your kids, maybe for your good friends, in the event something happens. Yeah. So I have a client. She, for example, had 20 properties in Germany, sold everything because of tax issues, and then now reinvested it in Dubai, 20 properties in Dubai. And the goal is, of course, to have a long-term asset protection. And long-term asset protection means also inheritance law, and means also to protect children or good friends or somebody else in the event of that they can handle the assets and they can participate on the success you made here in the UAE. I think that's very important for all expats here in the UAE to ask this question. The second question is, against whom do you do this asset protection? 2 points. First point, of course, government. Yeah, government authorities, tax authorities. Yeah, these are I would say, like enemies. There's a fight between like tax authority, tax advisor all the time. So you have to structure it properly. Also thinking about maybe other jurisdictions that your asset is protected against like government regulations, authorities, and so on. Yeah. The second part, of course, other people. Yeah, you never know which disputes you will fight in the future. So it's very important also to make sure, okay, you have everything in place that in case of a dispute, you be safe and protect your assets. Yeah. So this as a general opener to this topic. So the next question is, how can you protect your assets? Of course, physically, yeah, cameras, it's the most obvious thing to protect your house, your property. You see on the right side also, you can protect it throughout contracts, yeah, shareholder contracts, distributor contracts, and so on. Yeah. Third point, you can protect your assets throughout civil proceedings. Yeah, civil proceedings, jurisdictions. You can shift assets into different jurisdictions. You can make civil cases against persons. You can make cases against authorities. In Germany, it's possible, I think, also in Spain, to make proceedings against authorities when there, for example, is a wrong tax mail or something. In the UAE, it's a little bit more difficult, but in general, you can also say, okay, I will go for proceedings to protect my assets. The fourth point, and this is the point we are focusing today, you can change the legal framework to your advantage. And this is very important in inheritance law. You have a legal basis in the UAE or in Spain or in Germany, which is inheritance law. statutory regulations, and you can change this, for example, with registering a will to your advantage. So the legal framework will change from statutory regulations to the provisions you are stating in the will. Yeah. So, and this is what we are focusing today. How can you change this legal framework from statutory provisions to the will? So this just as a general opener when it comes to asset protection. Yeah. So let me jump quickly into the legal framework. So what is crucial when it comes to legal framework in inheritance law here in the UAE? So 10 years ago, you of course didn't have the possibility to register a will. So what happened 10 years ago? You would fall into the Sharia principles, yeah, which are not so good for, like, from an European expert perspective, because they contain a lot of provisions which contain unintended legal consequences. For example, sons are getting more than daughters, or sons are even getting more than wives in certain cases. So the government of Dubai saw this problem and said, okay, we will make a law for non-Muslim expats. Yeah, this Federal Decree Law number 41, 2022. With this law, you are going away from Sharia principles, but still the Sharia principles are the background of this law. So you still don't have the completely freedom of distributing your assets to who you want. Yeah. So this is not the best option, and they saw it also. The government saw it, and they said, okay, we will give you, as an experts, we will give you the option to register wills in the UAE mainland. Yeah, and they gave you 3 options. First option is Dubai, through the Dubai law number 15, 2017. Yeah, so you can register with the Dubai courts. I will come to this later, but the first option is you will register the will throughout the Dubai courts. The second option is Abu Dhabi. Yeah, Abu Dhabi law number 14, 2021 gives you the possibility. I can register as a non-Muslim expat. I can register a will in Abu Dhabi for my assets in the UAE mainland. So Dubai, Abu Dhabi. The third option is the DIFC. The DIFC also have, like, laws where you have the possibility to register the wills within the DIFC. I will explain later why, in my point of view and in our point of view, it's the best option. Yeah, but in principle, you have these 3 options to go away from the Sharia principles. So you always want to avoid the Sharia principles, because first there are regulations you don't know, or you're not used to it from a European perspective. Yeah, and when you are in the Sharia principles, you're also in the governmental proceedings, which can be very difficult. Yeah, so the goal is for you to go away from the Sharia principles and also go away from the UAE Federal Decree Law number 41, 2022, and go to the possibility of registering a will in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, or at the DIFC. Yeah, so this is the basis of everything which is coming now. Okay. So, as I said, which options for will registration in the UAE do you have if you want to register a will? First one, Dubai courts. You can go to the Dubai courts and you can submit a Dubai will for your assets to the Dubai courts, and then it's fine. It's one option. The second option is Abu Dhabi Judicial Department in Abu Dhabi. You will drive to Abu Dhabi. You will translate your will into Arabic. You will submit it, and then you have the will in place in Abu Dhabi, also for the UAE mainland, for all assets which do you have in the UAE mainland. The third option, and I would prefer this, is the DIFC wills registry. Yeah, why it's the best option, and I'm very confident that it's the best option for you, and I will explain to you now why it is the best option. Yeah, let me just quickly jump into the general requirements when you want to register a will at the DIFC. Yeah. So first one, fully covers the estates of non-Muslims in the UAE. So this is the first requirement. You have to be non-Muslim. If you are Muslim, you will fall automatically in the Sharia principles. No way to register a will. Yeah, so you have to be non-Muslim. A lot of clients are coming and asking, oh, I'm Muslim, I want to do a will for my assets here in the UAE. We have to say it's not possible. Yeah, actually, just for non-Muslims, because the government of the UAE, of course, is saying Muslims are fallen into the Sharia principles. For expats, we see the situation, we see the problems the European expats, for example, have with the Sharia principles. So we give them the possibility to register a will, but not for Muslims. So just non-Muslims can register the wills. Also for Dubai and Abu Dhabi, yeah, but the DIFC also just non-Muslims. Then testators have full testamentary freedom to dispose of their estate according to their wishes, movable and immovable property. To mix couples for a non-Muslim married to a Muslim? Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I just answered it because I saw it now. Of course, when you are a Muslim and your wife, for example, is non-Muslim, or when the wife is non-Muslim and the husband is Muslim, in general, you can register it when you are a non-Muslim. No matter if your wife is a Muslim or your husband is a Muslim, when you're non-Muslim, you can register it. Yeah, of course, you have to deal with the execution problems. Yeah, we, for example, had a client he had a marriage certificate in Germany, which stating he's a non-Muslim, and he had a marriage certificate in Jordania, which stating like he's a Muslim, for example. Yeah, then of course the DIFC will request or we'll see, okay, German marriage certificate non-Muslim, yeah. But in the event of execution, you can have problems. I will come to this later, to the execution part. But in general, to answer your question, in general, it is possible when you're non-Muslim to register the will, even if your wife or your husband or your kids are Muslims. Yeah, so that's the general rule. But you have to look into it. Every case is different. But in general, it's possible. Yeah. The testator must be at least 21 years old till now. Yeah, we now have the new civil transaction law. Yeah, I will come to this later. This question. But let me just finalize the general requirements. At least 21 years old. We have the new the civil transaction law in the UAE applying 1st of June 2026, and then they will lower the majority age to 18. I assume that then also the age at the DIFC will be lowered to 18. Yeah, so you can register wills when you are 18. But for now, it's 21 years. Yeah. The last general requirement, residence in the UAE is not required. So even if you are like 20, 30 years in the UAE, you are building assets, then you are retiring back to Europe, back to Germany, and you are in Germany, you still can register the will even if you're in Germany or in Spain. Yeah, you can also, with the DIFC, you can do it online. You don't even have to come here. Everything is online. I will explain the registration process, but everything is online. Yeah, you can sit in Spain and register the wills for your properties you have in the UAE, and so on. UAE will, I will answer the question now, but I will also come to it later. The UAE law just applies to the UAE assets. So we always recommend to split it. Yeah, for example, when you have assets in Spain, you have a will in Spain. When you have assets in Germany, you have a will in Germany for the German assets. And for the assets in the UAE, you will have the local registered UAE will. Yeah, so a division of estate. Yeah, but because otherwise it will be difficult to enforce the Spain will in the UAE or the UAE will in the Spain. So our recommendation is to have in every jurisdiction where you have assets, you have an own will in place. Yeah. Okay. Let me just say something to the advantages of the DIFC wills registry when you compare it to Dubai court or Abu Dhabi court. A lot of clients are coming and saying, oh, DIFC is a little bit more expensive. I will come to that also later. DIFC is a little bit more expensive. Why we cannot do it with Dubai and Abu Dhabi? The main problem with Dubai and Abu Dhabi is everybody can register a will. Everybody can register it. Yeah, especially Dubai and Abu Dhabi. You can just submit it and nobody will take care of it. Yeah, they just say, okay, you submitted the will, but nobody will have a look at it. And in the event of death, you have to execute it. And this can be very problematic and very difficult when you don't have the review of the authority. Yeah, and everybody know like Dubai courts, Abu Dhabi courts, very difficult. So we would really recommend, even if it's a little bit more expensive, to go to the DIFC. Yeah, because there you have legal clarity ensured by detailed regulations of process, form, and implementation. Yeah, 200 pages at the DIFC. You can read it, and there everything is clear and everything is stated what happened in this case and what happened in this case. Dubai and Abu Dhabi, you don't have it. You're just submitting the will, and that's it. And what will happen in the execution, nobody knows. Yeah. So we really recommend the DIFC. Second reason, substantive control and reliable enforceability throughout the DIFC court system. They are very efficient. They are very fast. I talked to the DIFC representative a few days ago. They opened a bank account in the event of death 2 days after the death of the testator. Yeah. Because the normal situation is, okay, somebody's dying, the bank accounts are frozen. Yeah. Then you will go with the probate order from the DIFC courts on the basis of your will. You will go to the bank or you will go to the Dubai Land Department, change the title deed, bank account, free the bank accounts, economic department, yeah, change of shareholders. And this is very efficient with the DIFC. They are very quick. They are very efficient when you compare it to Dubai and Abu Dhabi courts. Yeah. Third point, timely communication, efficient support, and availability of representatives during registration procedure. You have the communication with the representatives. They are trained. Yeah, they are always available. Like 1 or 2 days, you have to answer. So this is we have very good experience with the DIFC, and you don't have it with the Dubai Abu Dhabi courts. There's no trained staff. You will just submit it, as I said, and that's it. Yeah. Also, with the DIFC, one-time payment covering all subsequent procedures in the event of death. You will upload all the documents now, yeah, and then you don't have to legalize or translate into Arabic. The language is English at the DIFC, so it's more efficient. It's more easy than with Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Of course, you can do it, but we would recommend DIFC. And I'm not saying this because I'm registered with the DIFC. That's our point of view from a legal perspective. We really recommend the DIFC because then you will not have big problems in the execution. Yeah. Here you can see also, for example, will approved. We are pleased to inform you that the will submitted by you has been reviewed and approved for registration. So there is a review. There you have two reviews. The first review from my side, yeah, I will draft the will. I will take care everything is fine. And then you have a second review from the DIFC representative. And that's the difference between DIFC and Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, you don't know. DIFC, you have clear procedures and you have the review of the DIFC representative, and you can be sure that in the event of your death, the will be executed properly. Yeah. So that's the main difference between them. Okay, so let's come to types of wills. What options do you have when you want to register a will? You have on the one side the single full will, one document that governs the estates of one individual alone. So when you, for example, you have as a husband you have a wife, or you have as a wife you have a husband, but just one of you has assets in the UAE, then I recommend just a single full will. For example, you have one property and 2 bank accounts, and maybe shares at the company here in the UAE. But your wife is not participating. She doesn't have shares, or she's not standing in the title deed. Then just make the will for yourself. Yeah, so one will. When you have the situation that your wife is also with 50% in the title deed, so 50% you, 50% your wife or your husband, yeah, or you both have shares in the same company, then I recommend the mirror full will, because then both of you have assets in the UAE, so both of you need to cover these assets to cover these 50%, both of you need a will. Yeah. And then you can do the mirror full will. Yeah. Two independent documents that generally reflect each other's intent. So the husband will appoint the wife, and the wife in her document will appoint the husband. Yeah. That's the situation. In Germany, it's or also maybe Spain, it's a little bit different. There you have one will, and in this one will, you can appoint each other. Here in the UAE, you cannot do it. You need two wills, mirror wills. Yeah. So one will of the husband appointing the wife, and will of the wife appointing the husband. And then for a next step in both wills, they're coming the children or other people. Yeah. So this is the mirror full will. It will also be a little bit not so expensive when you're doing two wills. Yeah, because you can do one will now and the other will 6 months later, but then the fees will be higher than when you are registering the two wills within the mirror full will. Then the fees are not so high. And then you have two documents which cover all the assets in the UAE for husband and wife, and then at the second stage, your children. Yeah, so these are the two options. A lot of clients are going for the mirror full will when they are married. Yeah, when one of them doesn't have any assets, then it doesn't make sense. Yeah, then you will go for the single full will. Okay, the single full will, as I said, covers all the assets you have in the UAE, properties, bank accounts, and so on. Of course, there are specific wills also. When you say you have a very complex or difficult company structure with 4 or 5 shareholders, or you have 4 or 5 different companies, and you also have to align the inheritance law with the corporate side, yeah, then it gets very complex. And maybe you have also a will from Spain covering these constellations and assets and companies. Then I would recommend. I will come to the fees later. I will recommend a specific will then where you just can cover the company shares and everything, align it with the corporate structure. So just for clarity reasons, that you have one will just covering the company side, and then maybe another will where you have the private side. Yeah. That there's no confusion. But of course, most of the clients are going for the full will, which covers everything, companies and so on. But as I said, if you have complex structures, you can also do it a specific will, business owner will, for example. Yeah, or when you have a lot of properties or something. Will a mirror will be necessary if the wife is not working in the UAE and only assets in the UAE is a bank account, for example? Yeah. Of course, that's a interesting question. The wife, for example, you have, or the husband has a lot of assets, properties, and on, and the wife just have a bank account. Then, of course, for this bank account, you will also need a will. Yeah, because you don't need the will, but the process will be very hard to open this bank account again, because it will be frozen when in the event of death, and then it takes 6 months or 8 months. Because when you don't have the will, you will fall into the court proceedings, into the basic court proceedings, and this can take longer than when you have the will, and you just will go with the probate order on the basis of the will to the bank and open the bank account again. As I said, like a few days. When you don't have this will, it takes longer. Of course, it's possible, but as I said, it's very complicated. You have to legalize documents. You have to go the way of the normal proceedings with the courts. So it's difficult. So I would recommend as soon as you have some assets in the UAE bank accounts or something, I would recommend also a will for the wife. Yeah. But yeah, that's always a question of how you want to structure it. Yeah. I always recommend for married couples at least to have 2 bank accounts, not just one. In the event something has happened, then you have at least 1 bank account for your own where you have savings and so on. Yeah. Okay. A guardianship will, the full will covers also guardianship clauses. Yeah. So you can say, okay, in the event of my death, or when we are both sitting in a plane and we have minor children in the UAE, a good friend should take care of it, of the children. You can also do it in our own will, like a guardianship will, when you just say, I don't want to deal with my properties, I will do it later, but I want to be sure that my children are protected. You can also do a guardianship will, but I personally recommend to cover everything in one will. Yeah, to make the process once. And then you can, in the full will, you can make the guardianship clauses, you can make the company clauses, and so on. So that's my recommendation: to not to split it, just have one will, and then go on with this will. Yeah. Will drafting. So now we have the decision. Okay, we are doing the will. We are going the way for asset protection. So how we can draft the will, or how our wills are drafted in the UAE. I brought here some practical examples of will structuring in the UAE. It's a little bit different from Germany or Spain, because in Germany or Spain you can also do it on your own or with a notary or something. But here you have kind of clauses which are which you have to use that this will be valid. Yeah. So first, very important clause always is, I declare that I'm not a Muslim and have never been a Muslim. Yeah. Because from a Sharia principle, when you once have been a Muslim, you cannot change it. Yeah. So you declare that you are not a Muslim and have never been a Muslim. Then, second clause, in most of the cases, this will is made in respect of my immovable and movable property situated in the Emirate of Dubai, or wherever your properties or assets are. And in general, the will covers everything. You don't need to change it when you're buying a property or selling a property. It covers everything in the event of your death, the whole assets. Yeah. But of course, a lot of clients want, for the avoidance of doubt, to say, okay, for the avoidance of doubt, my Dubai estate includes, but is not limited to, the following. And then you're listing the shares. Yeah. Here you see shares of the villa, shares of the company, and so on. A lot of clients also are now dealing with crypto wallets. Yeah, crypto wallets. There's a little bit, it's difficult, yeah, to list it and to say, okay, these wallets and these login details. So I always recommend, when you're doing the will, also give your beneficiaries a list of login details and stuff. So it's easier for them, in case of the event of death, to log into the wallets and stuff. So when they execute the will, yeah. Then residuary gift. Yeah, you can do residuary gift. For example, you have 4 children. Every child gets 25%. Yeah, that's the normal way. When you, for example, say, I have a very nice car and my son is very into cars, and I want to distribute this car explicitly to my son, then you can also have specific legacies. Yeah. So residuary gift on the one side, specific legacy on the other side. You can also, and that's nice. Yeah, you can also distribute it to foundations, to companies outside of the UAE. So you have a total freedom of distributing your assets to whoever you want. Yeah, that's the advantage of the will when you compare it to the Sharia principles. So yeah, that's very important. Last clause here as an example, I revoke all my earlier testamentary dispositions to the extent that they relate to my Dubai estate. So this is the actual will. There are no other wills in place. But of course, for the avoidance of doubt, the registration of this will shall not revoke my will registered in UK, for example. That's what I told you before. When you have assets in the UK, you have a UK will in place. And when you have assets in Spain, Spain will. When you have assets in Germany, German will. And these wills are they are beside each other. Yeah. So you also have to make sure that they are not disputing. Yeah. Because then you will get problems. When the German will says one thing and the UAE will says another thing, it will get different. So you have to align these wills. But of course, the UAE will cover the UAE assets, and the other wills in other jurisdictions, the assets in the other jurisdictions. So that's the way you have to do it. Yeah. Okay. Guardianship clauses, also very important, as I said in the beginning. testamentary guardianship. Yeah, you appoint a person to look after the interests of a child, of a minor child, yeah, when both parents are deceased. And also the testator may wish to leave guardian with access to funds. Yeah. So you can appoint a good friend, for example, as a guardian. You can appoint, I don't know, relatives take care of the child. In the best case, they are in the UAE, yeah, to take care of the child. Then but they can also be outside of the UAE. They can also be in Spain or Germany. But of course, it's better when you have friends or relatives which are in the UAE and then can take care of the minor child in the UAE. Yeah, when the minor child is in the UAE. Yeah. Why is this so important? What is the other option when you don't have these guardianship clauses and nowhere is stated what will happen with the minor child? Of course, then it will have the state guardianship. Yeah. And these proceedings are very complex, very lengthy. So I really recommend also all the time when you have a will, please insert these guardianship clauses. It's not that complicated. Just say, okay, in the event of death of both parents, my good friend, I don't know, will take care of the kid. Yeah. So yes, that's very important. You can also make clauses that you say, okay, the guardian manage the assets, but he or she is not allowed to, take some assets for his own or do some misbehavior with them or something like that. You can state it in the will, but it's very important to have these guardianship clauses to have somebody looking after the minor child. Yeah. So here you see two clauses. Yeah. For example, when you are doing a full will, you have first clause will be appointment of surviving wife as permanent guardian. I appoint my wife to be the sole permanent guardian of my daughter in the event of my death, unless such guardianship has been previously withdrawn, revoked from her by law, on the basis of her legal disability, or if she has been found unfit. So this is the first stage. When you're dying, your wife will be the guardian. Of course, she has this right to be the guardian. Yeah, but stated in the will that it's clear the wife will be the guardian of the child or the husband. Yeah. Then on the second stage, you will write appointment of other guardians in the event of death of both parents. Yeah, that's the case here. You're sitting in a plane, your minor children are in the UAE, something is happening, or you're in a car accident or something. And then you have to appoint other persons. So in the event that my wife predeceases me or dies at the same time as me, or is for any reason unable to act as such guardian, then I appoint whoever you want to act as permanent guardian of my daughter in the event of my death during her minority. That's it. That's it. And that's such a huge difference. Please make sure to make these clauses in your will. Yeah. Very, very, very important, because you don't want that your child is going into like proceedings with the courts. Just state it in the will, and then it's fine. Yeah. Okay. The registration process. So now we have drafted the will. Everything is fine. We have guardianship clauses. We covered all the assets you have. So now we want to register the will at the DIFC registration process. First, for example, I or other colleagues will register the will for you. Yeah, we will give you a full package. So I will come to it later. But what are the steps? Yeah, you will have a login. Yeah, where you also can change things later on. For example, passport details and so on. You will have your own login into the DIFC courts and with your will and all the information. Yeah, it's very easy, very comfortable. You can do it from Spain or from Germany or from whatever where you are. It's very easy. Yeah, and then the registration process looks like this. Yeah, you will upload all the documents. Yeah, here single full will, for example, personal information, executor details. So the person who is executing your will can be when you're appointing your wife, can be your wife or husband also. Beneficiary details, guardian details of your minor children details, witness details. Yeah, witness will be myself and a colleague. Yeah, we are offering that we are. You need to witness in the appointment, so we are offering also to be the witness. Then upload the documents, upload the will draft. Then book the appointment. Always takes like 1 or 2 months, depending on the availability of the DIFC. So we are now registering wills with appointments for end of March, April or so. And yeah, then you can book the appointment. Then there's the payment of the DIFC fee, and then the appointment is confirmed, and there will be the appointment of the will. Yeah, here check appointment availability. For example, this was 6 December 2024. The appointment will be completely online. You don't have to be in the UAE. Yes, you have to have 2 witnesses. Yeah, we are offering it as a law firm that I and a colleague will be the witness in the appointment, but you have to have 2 witnesses, but can also be your friends or somebody else. Yeah. We always recommend that we are the witness because sometimes there are technical issues or something, then we can support you. And I have a very good contact to the DIFC representative, so everything is kind of smooth. Yeah. As I said, it's fully online. You can sit in Spain. It's a Teams meeting. Yeah. And then you have the appointment with the DIFC representative. She will read out the clauses once again. You confirm that this is your intent for the will. And then you will receive an one-time OTP at your mobile phone. Yeah, then you will scan a QR code. Then you will get a number. You have to type it, the number into your mobile phone, and then you can sign digitally on your mobile phone, and this signature will be uploaded to the system. Yeah, so the whole process is completely online. You don't have to enter the UAE, or you don't have to go to the DIFC or something. It's completely online, and as I said, will drafting, uploading of the will. Yeah, then a booking of the appointment, and then 1 or 2 months later, you have the appointment online with the DIFC representative, with me and a colleague. We will also sign the will. Yeah, so the witnesses are also signing the will. The process is always in English. It could be in Spanish. In general, the process is in English. Yeah, but there is the possibility of a translator. Yeah, so a few weeks ago, I had a client from Italy, and he didn't speak English. So we organized for him a translator, and the translator is also in the call, in the appointment, and then he will translate what the DIFC representative is saying and reading out the will clauses. And then you can also do it in other languages, but you need to have a translator. But in general, it's in English, yeah, not Arabic. As I said, that's also a advantage of the DIFC. It is in English. You don't have to translate something in Arabic. It is completely in English, yeah. And you have the possibility of translation, yeah. So, in my opinion, it's the best option, yeah. Do you only work with European, or could you also brief on this content and support other national people such Indians, etc.? Yes, of course. It's always the same here in the UAE. It's always the same process. Yeah. Of course, you have to align. For example, when you're from India or from other countries or like from Spain, you have to align also maybe with your lawyer there. Yeah. Maybe you have a will in place in India, so you have to align with your lawyer in India, and then we have to align these 2 wills. But the process itself, we can do it for every country. Yeah, it's always the same. As I said, as long as you are non-Muslim, it's not a problem. Yeah, because the UAE authorities, when you, for example, you are from GCC countries or I don't know, Iraq, you're Jordania or something, then they assume that you are Muslim. Yeah, and it's very hard to prove that you're non-Muslim. But as long as you're like from other countries and you're stating, okay, yeah, I'm non-Muslim, it's fine. Yeah, we can do it from every country. Yeah, that's not a problem. Okay. Then let me quickly, or not quickly, because this is the most important point, the execution in the event of death. Yeah, what will happen? Yeah, death of legator. Then the heirs legatees shall accept or reject the will in whole or in part within 60 days from the date of his notification. So the beneficiaries will get an information, or the executor from the DIFC. Okay, there's a will in place. Do you want to accept this will? Yeah. Okay, then your heirs or beneficiaries will accept this will. Then there's a written order of the DIFC to the executor. Yeah. For example, you have appointed your wife as beneficiary and also as executor. Yeah, then your wife will get the notification. For example, when you have no trust in your wife, or you don't have trust in your husband or something, there are some like family issues. You can also appoint a third party as a executor. Yeah, to say, okay, I have or 3 children which are always fighting, and I don't want them to execute the will on their own. I will appoint a third party as a executor. You can also appoint our law firm as executor. I always recommend this. Yeah. For example, appointing your wife as the executor. But when this won't work, we are like the safety net, and we will execute as a law firm the will. Yeah, so we are always implementing these clauses also in the will. Yeah. So okay, executor has a written order. Executor gathers and values assets, pays off debts and taxes, and so on. So he's managing and organizing the execution of the will. And then the executor submits a report of his work to the DIFC. So you see what I said before. The DIFC is still controlling what is happening. You don't have this in Dubai and Abu Dhabi courts, by the way. DIFC is still, after the event of your death, controlling what is happening. Yeah, the executor has to submit the reports, what he's doing. If the assets are distributed correctly, they will check with your will and will check what the executor is doing. So everything is executed properly. Yeah. So you see, this is the problem is there are not so many cases now, because this option for registering wills is since few years only. So many cases we have a lot of experience with registering the wills, but there's no such experience in the market of Dubai also, or UAE, for the execution of these wills. So you will see when now first cases are coming and stuff, yeah, how the execution is working. We have a few of them execution cases, but in the big mass, it will come in the next years. Yeah, that you will have a lot of wills being executed. Yeah, because the generation coming 20, 30 years ago, building assets, now retirement, 50, 60 years, something around that. And in the next year, you will see all the assets they built in Dubai will go to the next generation. Yeah, long-term asset protection, as I said in the beginning. Yeah. Okay, how is it working? DIFC courts. You have the will in place at the DIFC. On basis of this will, the DIFC will give you or give the executor a probate order. Yeah. Executor and beneficiary can be the same. Yes, they can be the same. They can be the same when you have one wife, for example, and 2 kids. You can appoint your wife as a beneficiary and your kids as beneficiaries, and you can also appoint your wife as executor. Yeah, so can be the same. But as I said, when you don't trust your wife, yeah, for whatever reasons, or your husband, or you have family issues, yeah, then you can also appoint a good friend as executor. You can go to a good friend and say, in case something is happening, you will be the executor, and you will execute and distribute the assets to my children, or to my wife or somebody, to make sure everything is executed properly. Yeah, but that's up to you. How that's totally up to you. That's the nice thing at DIFC wills. Everything is up to you. But of course, to answer your question, executor and beneficiary can of course be the same. Yeah, and you can also appoint more executors. As I said, you can appoint your wife when this won't work because your wife is unavailable or something. You can appoint also us as a law firm, and then we will execute it for you. Yes. So what will the executor do with this probate orders? Article 20 Dubai Law number 5027. He has the probate orders. And then with this probate order, the executor will go to the heirs, distributes the assets. Yeah. He will go to the legatees, also distributing the assets. He will go to the bank, Emirates MBD, First Abu Dhabi Bank. He will say, okay, here is the probate order. Please unlock the bank account for this beneficiaries. Yeah. He can go to Dubai Land Department and say, okay, please change the title deed for this beneficiaries. Then the DLD will change the title deed. He can also go to the Dubai Economic Department and say, please change the shareholders. Then the Dubai Economic Department will change the shareholders. And this is faster than going, as I said, through all of these proceedings without the will. Yeah. So this is a very, very, I wouldn't say simple, but very efficient. Yeah. So the most efficient way you can do it in the UAE. Yeah. Comparison, enforcement of foreign wills in the UAE. As I said in the beginning, a lot of clients are coming and saying, okay, I have German or Spain will. Why I cannot enforce this one? Yeah, there are no bilateral enforcement agreement between Germany, Spain, and the UAE. So the enforcement is a very difficult process. Legalization, translation, and so on. There are like maybe intentions or like regulations in the Spain or German will or other jurisdictions. The UAE don't know them. Yeah, and then the UAE court or authority will say, I don't know these clauses. It's invalid. Yeah, so we really recommend to do a local registered will in the UAE. So recommended approach, territorial division of estate, German, Spanish assets, the German Spanish wills or other jurisdictions, and for the UAE assets, you have the UAE wills. Yeah. Okay, last point. Fewer sentences to tax. I know this is also very important for a lot of people investing here in Dubai for a reason. Yeah, taxes in other countries. But it's just a brief summary. Please discuss it in detail with your tax advisor. Are assets held abroad subject to taxation in the country of residence? For Germany, I can say yes. Yeah, if assets are in Germany, especially properties, even if you're in the UAE, you're still taxable in Germany. Also, if the testator and beneficiary have a residence in Germany or are living less than 5 years outside of Germany, yeah, imagine this. Testator and beneficiary are living 4 years in UAE. The property is in UAE, and you can still be taxable in Germany when it comes to inheritance law or other taxes. Yeah. So this is very difficult to avoid. So you should also in Spain. Yeah. In Spain, I think it's a little different. No, if assets are not located in Spain, okay. But please check with your tax advisor. This is a very important point when you're thinking about inheritance and registering of wills. Always think about tax. Also, we have also a tax colleague. If you have interest, I can forward your questions to him also, so that you're fully covered in every aspect of law. Yeah. Last page. I think we are good on time. Is there any tax on inheritance in the UAE? As I know at the moment, no. Yeah. So the big problem is always with the tax, especially in European countries. Yeah, European countries, especially I know it from Germany, inheritance tax is insane. Yeah, when I'm allowed to say this. So you will have problems in the other jurisdictions. You will not have a problem in the UAE. Yeah. But I don't know in detail, but I think you won't have a problem in the UAE with the inheritance tax. Last page, because we are now 5 minutes before the end. We can do a quick Q&A also. Tax data from Dubai, because a lot of clients are asking me modification, new will to modify something in the future. Modifications are accepted. Yeah, you can modify your will at any time after you registered it. I will come to the fees, but it's very easy. Yeah, I think it's 500 dirhams or something, and you don't have to change it every time you're buying a new property. Yeah, as I said, it covers everything. Okay, I will do the last page and then I will go to the Q&A. A lot of clients are asking me, okay, how the tax authority in my home country will know that I have a property here. Yeah. And in 2021, the German authority bought tax data from the UAE. Yeah. And the tax authorities were using it. Yeah. And of course, when you're not registering it or when you're not letting the tax authorities know in Germany or Spain that you have properties here in Dubai, it's a tax fraud. Yeah. it's not good. Yeah. So really take care of this because sometimes you think, oh, how should they know? Yeah, but sometimes they just buy the data. There was also civil proceedings then in Germany regarding this, and the court said, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, the tax authority can buy these tax data from Dubai. Yeah, and then a lot of people have a lot of problems. Yeah, so avoid this situation. Okay, thank you very much for this session. So now we will do the Q&A. I see some questions are open. Just let me just answer this. What is the relationship between DIFC courts and Dubai courts? Because
Okay.
finally it all falls under UAE jurisdiction, so DIFC courts cannot act as private entity. No, there is from a legal point of view there is no difference. Yeah. So yeah, everything falls under UAE jurisdiction. Yeah, DIFC has the possibility to register also Dubai and Abu Dhabi courts, but as I said, DIFC has advantages. Yeah. What are the estimated costs for a mirror will, for example, drafting? Yes. So the DIFC fees for a normal will is 10,000 dirhams, and the DIFC fee for mirror will is 15,000. So you will save 5,000 dirhams. So normal will is 10,000, and DIFC mirror will 15,000 plus our lawyer fees. We are offering a full package of drafting, a legal review, uploading of the documents, registration process, being the witnesses in the appointment, and so on. So we are supporting you in the whole process, and it depends on the complexity of the will, but we are most of the time charging like 10 up to 15,000 dirhams also. Yeah, so you will end up around like 20, 25 or something. That's more than with the Dubai and Abu Dhabi courts, but as I said, this is a very crucial and very important topic. So you should not save money on the wrong position. Yeah. So you're registering one time, once the will, and then you are fine, and then you are covered. And as I said, you don't want to be in the situation where you have these long proceedings with the courts and everything. So for me, in my opinion, I registered a lot of wills now. In my opinion, my recommendation would be to register the will with the DIFC. So then everything is covered. Yeah, we also have a lot of Spain clients now from my colleague Albert. So this is a very good approach, and we are very yeah, happy and satisfied with the work of the DIFC. Yeah, everything is very efficient and very quickly. Yeah. So yeah, when you don't have any other questions, okay, so there's one more. Do you have the freedom to say how much extra you would like to leave your husband from your assets, for example, different from whereas very specific how this should be this law? Yeah, you're totally free. You can do it as you like. Yeah. Yeah.
Julian, I think that you've missed maybe because there are lots of questions from the beginning. I'm not sure if you have seen them. The first one, it was what happens to mixed couples for a non-Muslim?
Yes. I
Okay.
answered them during the call.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I answered every question. Yeah.
Okay. And then we
Okay.
have another one, another two on the chat bottom, which is isn't there an option to register a Muslim will with ADGD? I'm not
Yeah, in
sure.
Abu Dhabi. In Abu Dhabi. Yeah. You have the option also to register the will in Abu Dhabi, but as I said, we would recommend really the DIFC because there's no review. You don't know what will happen in the event of execution. So yeah, this is our recommendation to go to the DIFC. Yeah.
Okay. And the next one it
Because
is,
yeah,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
The next one it is what is the official criteria determining you are or you are not a Muslim? How is this checked?
Um, It's just checked. I mean, when you're like a Spanish national or a German national, it's not checked at the beginning of the registration. It's just checked when they are assuming that you are Muslim. And that's for example when you're coming out of Muslim countries, they maybe can assume that you are Muslim, and then they will ask, okay, before the registration, do you have any proof that you are non-Muslim? Yeah, but at least at the execution stage, you will have problems because then this will be circulated to all the authorities in the UAE, and then you will have problems because then they will ask, okay, but you are Muslim. Why is this will registered? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So yeah, if you have any more questions, you see my contact details. You can write me an email, and then I'm happy to provide more information when you are interested. Yeah.
so there's no more questions?
I think we covered everything.
I think so. Yes, it was really,
Yes.
really
I
clarifying.
tried to cover everything in this 1 hour,
Yes,
but
it
of
is.
course,
It is. It
every
is.
every case is
It is
different. So
so, so, so.
if you have any questions for like individual cases, just reach out. As I said, it's a very important topic, and you have to take care of it. So yeah, I'm available every time. Yeah.
There's another question. Can you don't leave nothing to a son?
Yes, of course, of course. I have like most of the clients are distributing it to the children, but I also had 1 or 2 cases where the the children didn't receive anything in the will. Yeah.
Okay, the webinar will be it is recorded now, and it will be sent in the next days. Okay, with the presentation and everything. Thank you, Julian. Thank you so much. It was really interesting and very clarifying.
Thank you
Uh,
very much for having me.
and thank you for all the people who has been connected. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.